What if the woman you married actually no longer existed? What if the woman you married no longer exists? Think about that for a second. One day, she's planning family vacations, laughing with the kids, making dinner with love. The next day, she's glued to her phone, posting selfies, buying clothes she wouldn't have touched 10 years ago, and texting some friend you've never even heard of. You look at her across the room and wonder, who is this stranger wearing my wife's face? And here's the part most men never see coming. It's not rare, it's everywhere. It's happening in your neighborhood, in your circle, maybe even in your own house. Men wake up every day blindsided, asking the same desperate question. What happened to my wife? The answer isn't what you want to hear. Women don't just age, they shift. Their psychology rewires, their priorities flip. The very way their brains process love, desire, and attention mutates. And you, the man who stood loyal through the years, suddenly feel like background noise. Your steady devotion, the very thing that once gave her security, now feels like a cage. She doesn't even realize she's rewriting the story until it's already too late. Here's the cruel reality. There's a biological countdown running inside every woman. When the clock hits 0, she doesn't look at life the same way anymore. The family you thought was rock solid can collapse in a matter of months. Not because of betrayal you caused, but because of a panic she can't escape. That's why this message matters. By the end of this video, you'll see the signs almost every man misses. You'll understand the hidden mechanism pulling the strings. And once you recognize it, you'll never look at midlife or your marriage the same way again. No fluff, no filters, just raw truth every man needs to hear. Hit subscribe if you're done living blind. And in the comments tell us, what's the one moment that made you realize she changed? Don't blink. This is where the unraveling begins. The world never prepared you for this moment. You were told a simple story. If you worked hard, if you provided, if you stayed loyal, if you loved your wife through the chaos of raising kids and building a home, she would be yours forever. That was the promise. That was the deal. But the deal was rigged from the start. Because the woman who stood beside you at 25 is not the same woman standing beside you at 40. She doesn't even realize she's changing. And you're left confused, wondering why devotion suddenly isn't enough. From the day she hit puberty, her value was tied to how many eyes followed her. Compliments were oxygen. Attention made her feel alive. For 20 solid years, from high school to her early 30s, she never had to work for that validation. It was everywhere. Men tripped over themselves to get her attention. Her beauty was her golden ticket, her constant reminder that she mattered. And then time did. What time always does, it began to take it away. Now she looks in the mirror and sees someone different. Not ugly, not ruined, just different. And for a woman whose entire sense of worth was built on being desired, different feels like death. Imagine an athlete who lived off speed and strength, waking up one morning to realize his body no longer obeys. The game he dominated now leaves him behind. That's her reality, except it's 10 times more vicious. Because she doesn't just lose a skill, she loses the one thing that made her feel irreplaceable. And instead of accepting this with grace, most women rage against it. They refuse to let time have the final word. They chase validation harder, like an addict chasing a high. And here's where the cruelty cuts deepest. Your loyalty doesn't count anymore. Your love, your years of sacrifice, your steady presence. All of it feels guaranteed to her. Predictable, expected, and predictable doesn't give her the rush she craves. That's why the tiniest spark from the outside, a door held open, a coworker's compliment, a trainer's flirty joke feels electric to her brain. That one small gesture outweighs 10 years of your devotion. Not because she's evil, not because she planned it, but because her mind is starving for proof that she's still visible, still relevant, still desirable. This is the trap most men never see. You believe that time deepens love. You believe that years together should make her more grateful, more secure. But for her, time can dull love into background noise. That romantic dinner you spent weeks planning, it feels like routine maintenance. The weekend getaway, just another line on the calendar. Even intimacy, refined through years of knowing each other, doesn't hit her nervous system the same way it once did. She needs louder signals, sharper jolts, bigger highs. And here's the cruel irony. You, the safe and steady man she built her life with, are the least capable of giving her that high. Safe is invisible. Predictable is numb. So while you're thinking the marriage is steady, she's quietly unraveling. The woman who once cherished your stability now craves chaos dressed up as excitement. The woman who once looked at you with gratitude now looks past you, searching for her younger reflection in someone else's eyes. And that hunger, that desperation, is only the beginning. Because once the cracks appear, the world around her is ready to widen them. And that's where the real danger begins. The cracks never show up all at once. They creep in, disguised as little changes you brush off. At first, it feels harmless. She starts reminiscing about her younger years. She tells stories about wild nights or old boyfriends with a laugh that doesn't sound like regret, but like longing. You think she's just being nostalgic. You tell yourself it's innocent, but what's really happening is more dangerous. She's rewriting her emotions. Gratitude turns into envy of her younger self. Satisfaction turns into mourning for a past she believes she lost. That's the first tremor before the quake. Then come the new friends, and they are almost always the same type. Women who blew up their own marriages and now call it freedom. They tell her they've found themselves. They pose as guides, but they're not guides. They're dealers. Dealers feeding her a steady dose of poison disguised as wisdom. You deserve better. Life's too short. Don't waste your prime years. They gather at wine nights that turn into grievance sessions, painting husbands as oppressors and families as prisons. And your wife, who once felt anchored, begins to see her life through their lens. Stability looks like a trap. Devotion looks like control. Marriage looks like sacrifice. And just when she's primed for collapse, social media steps in. Hours of scrolling become her daily drug. She's not comparing her marriage to other marriages. She's comparing her messy reality to the polished highlight reels of strangers. Perfect bodies, perfect love stories. Women her age reinventing themselves, starting over, finding happiness after 40. Every swipe whispers the same lie. It's not too late. You can still have more. The algorithm knows exactly what her anxious brain craves. Not truth, not wisdom, fantasy. The physical spiral follows like clockwork. It starts subtle. New skincare, a different hairstyle. Then it escalates procedures she once mocked, outfits that belong to her daughter, diets and workout plans that border on obsession. She doesn't just want to look good. She wants to look young. Every choice is desperate. Every purchase screams survival. She isn't chasing beauty, she's fighting the mirror. Emotionally, she drifts into patterns you can't ignore. Suddenly, she needs me time. Suddenly, she's busier than ever, with commitments that don't add up. Some days she's combative, picking fights over nothing, pushing you to the edge. Other days she's unusually sweet, almost glowing with fake calm. Both are signs. The fights mean she's building her case, rewriting history so she can justify leaving. The fake sweetness means she's already guilty, covering tracks for something that started, or about to. And here's the cruel twist society cheers her on. Magazines, talk shows, influencers, even therapists all sing the same chorus: don't settle, follow your heart. Your happiness comes first. Her panic is validated. Her rebellion is framed as courage. Her betrayal is celebrated as empowerment. Nobody tells her the truth. Nobody reminds her that beauty fades for everyone, that novelty always dies, that stability is what builds meaning. Instead, they call her brave for chasing the exact same thrill a teenager would. Both ruled by hormones, both blind to the wreckage left behind. And you're told to sit quietly, to work on yourself, to be patient. As if becoming the perfect man could compete with the dopamine hit of being noticed by a stranger. It never could. It never will. And that's why so many men never see the real danger until it's already too late. Because what looks like everyday life is actually the fuse burning down toward the explosion. By this stage, the mask starts slipping. She's restless, anxious, hungry for something everyday life can't provide. And it doesn't take much to push her over the edge. Sometimes all it takes is one man, one compliment, one spark. Maybe it's a coworker who tells her she looks incredible for her age. Maybe it's an old flame sliding back into her inbox. Maybe it's the trainer who notices her more than you do. It doesn't matter who. What matters is that she suddenly has a face to attach to her fantasies. It's no longer just, I could have other options. It becomes, he could be an option. And once that thought takes root, it grows like fire in dry grass. She'll swear it's innocent. Just friends. Just catching up. Just professional. But you'll feel the shifts. She guards her phone like it's her lifeline. She mentions his name too often or not at all. She explains things you never even questioned. She either picks fights over nothing, or she's unusually nice, almost glowing with fake calm. Both extremes are signals. The fights mean she's building her case, rewriting the marriage so she can justify leaving. The sweetness means she's already guilty, covering her tracks, managing her conscience. And once she crosses the line, whether emotional or physical, the marriage is gone. She may come back when the thrill dies. She may cry, apologize, swear it was a mistake. But the truth is brutal. The woman who comes back is not your wife anymore. She's a stranger carrying another man's memory, comparing you to her adventure, haunted by the rush she can't recreate with you. This is why betrayal at this stage cuts deeper than at any other time. It's not just about cheating, it's about destruction. A woman who spent 15 or 20 years building a family will torch it all for a temporary high. I've seen mothers of 3 run away with their personal trainer. I've seen church-going wives start affairs with their husband's best friend. I've seen women trade 2 decades of loyalty for 3 months of passion with a man they barely knew. And every single time, the husband says the same words, "I never saw it coming." But the signs were always there. You just didn't want to see them. You didn't want to face the way she looked at herself in the mirror with disgust. You didn't want to admit how her eyes lit up when a stranger noticed her. You didn't want to feel the distance growing in your own bed. The problem is, by the time you're ready to admit it, it's already too late. And then comes the cruelest twist of all. She rewrites history. To justify what she's done, she has to make you the villain. Suddenly, the marriage was never real. She was unhappy for years. You were controlling. Every good memory, a lie. Every moment of joy, pretend. She erases the truth because the truth would expose her. The truth would mean she destroyed something good out of vanity. Fear and selfishness. That's too heavy for her to carry. So she crafts a story where she's the survivor, and you're the oppressor. And she tells it to herself, to her friends, even to your children. And those children, innocent, trusting, become collateral damage in her war against aging. She convinces herself they'll be fine, that kids are resilient, that they want her to be happy. But children don't care about her happiness. They care about stability. They care about predictability. They care about waking up with both parents in the same home. Instead, they get split birthdays, empty chairs, and years of confusion as they try to understand why their mother's panic mattered more than their need for safety. And that's why her midlife unraveling isn't just embarrassing. It's catastrophic. It doesn't just break trust. It burns down entire families. And once the fire starts, there's no undoing the damage. And this is where the madness hits another level. Because while she's tearing down her marriage piece by piece, the world doesn't stop her. The world cheers. Every magazine headline, every daytime talk show, every influencer online, even therapists who should know better, they all hand her the same script. You deserve happiness. You need to find yourself. Don't ever settle. And she clings to those words like gospel. Her panic is reframed as bravery. Her rebellion is framed as courage. Her betrayal is painted as self-love. Nobody dares to challenge it. Nobody stands up and says the truth. Beauty fades for everyone. Attention is a drug that must be cut off, and novelty always dies. Instead, the culture pumps her full of slogans. You go, girl. Live your truth. Follow your heart. As if a 40-year-old woman chasing validation is any wiser than a 16-year-old boy chasing thrills. Both are ruled by hormones. Both make reckless choices. Both leave wreckage in their path. And where are you in all this? You're told to sit down and take it. Be understanding. Give her space. Work on yourself. As if any version of you, no matter how strong, rich, or perfect, could ever compete with the dopamine rush of a stranger's attention. You could transform into the dream husband tomorrow. It wouldn't matter, because perfect is predictable. Predictable doesn't make her heart race anymore. Predictable doesn't drown out the sound of the clock reminding her that youth is slipping away. Her friends add fuel to the fire, especially the divorced ones. They don't act as lifelines. They act as poison disguised as wisdom. They whisper the same mantras: life's too short. You've given enough. You deserve better. But here's the secret: they need her to jump with them. They need someone else to validate their own regret. And nothing validates a bad decision more than watching another woman make the same one. So now, every ordinary challenge in your marriage is rebranded as oppression. Every routine is reframed as control. Every expectation becomes proof that she's been sacrificing too much. The devotion that once anchored her is reinterpreted as a trap. And when social media gets added into the mix, it's like gasoline on the fire. She scrolls through curated feeds, comparing her messy reality to digital fantasies. Every highlight reel makes her own life look dull. Every photo convinces her she's missing out. And soon, reality feels unbearable compared to the fantasy in her head. And when she finally acts, when she decides to pull the trigger, she doesn't just walk away quietly. She rewrites the script. She paints herself as the heroine. She paints you as the villain. She convinces herself the kids will adapt, that you'll survive, that she's brave for finally living her truth. But the truth is uglier. She isn't running towards something better. She's running away from something inevitable, aging, irrelevance, mortality. And you, standing there loyal and steady, become the face of everything she wants to escape. And that's why no man can fix it. Because it was never about you. It was always about time, about biology, about fear. And once that fear takes over, love and loyalty don't stand a chance. Men and women do not face time the same way. And that single truth explains why midlife looks so different on each side. When a man turns 40, the world tells him he's entering his prime. He's the silver fox, distinguished, finally seasoned with experience, resources, and quiet confidence, even if his hairline is fading, even if his waistline is growing. Society whispers in his ear, "You've still got it," and he believes it. He feels it in the way younger women glance at him, in the respect he gets from men his own age. He doesn't even have to act on it. Knowing he still could is enough. That knowledge gives him peace. But for women, the script flips. Every birthday past 35 feels like a funeral for her youth. While men are compared to wine that ages well, women are compared to milk that sours. Culture tells her she's expired, invisible, past her prime, and she absorbs it with terror. Terrified that her last chance at being desired is slipping away, she scrambles. That scramble is what men mistake for a phase. But it's not a phase, it's panic. And panic drives decisions that men can barely comprehend. Here's the difference. A man's midlife crisis embarrasses him. He buys a car he doesn't need. He takes up a hobby. Maybe he flirts with adventure or attention. Harmless indulgences. They make him look foolish. Sure, but they don't usually destroy lives. A woman's midlife crisis, it's nuclear. Because instead of reclaiming youth, she tries to erase aging altogether. And to do that, she burns down anything that reminds her time has passed. That includes you, the husband who has been by her side. That includes the family you built together. Once the collapse begins, she doesn't just leave. She rewrites the entire history. Suddenly, all those vacations, anniversaries, and love letters meant nothing. She'll claim she was never truly happy, that she was pretending all along. Every good memory becomes fake. Every disagreement becomes abuse. She has to twist the story, because admitting the truth that she blew up a good life for fear and vanity would crush her. So she spins a narrative where she's the victim and you're the oppressor. And she sells that story to friends, to family, even to your children. And the children suffer most. She convinces herself they'll adapt, that they'll understand, that they'll thank her one day for being authentic. But kids don't care about authenticity. Kids care about stability. They want to wake up in the same house with both parents. They want holidays without custody battles. They want family dinners without empty chairs. What they get instead is confusion, resentment, and wounds that don't heal. They don't see bravery. They see betrayal. They don't see a mother finding herself. They see a mother choosing vanity over their security. And the cruelest part, the timing is almost predictable. It happens right when the kids are finally old enough not to need constant attention. Right when life should be getting easier. Right when the family should be enjoying the rewards of sacrifice. That's when she pulls the pin, because now she has time to think, time to scroll, time to compare. And when she compares her present reality to her memories of youth, the gap feels unbearable. And instead of accepting that everyone's youth fades, she decides to chase it one last time. even if it means destroying the very people who never stopped choosing her. By the time it reaches this stage, the damage is already done. The man is left standing in the rubble, staring at the pieces of a life he thought was unshakable. He replays the years in his mind, the anniversaries he never missed, the vacations they took as a family, the nights he stayed up late working so the bills were paid, the mornings he carried the weight so she could rest. And none of it makes sense. How could the woman who once swore eternal love tear it all down without hesitation? The answer is brutal, but clear. The woman who made those promises no longer exists. That was the 25-year-old version of her, the one drenched in hormones, swimming in validation, convinced that attention would never end. The 40-year-old version is a stranger, different brain chemistry, different fears, different priorities. And you're the casualty of her war against time. And here's the part no one tells you. She will never admit the truth. She will never look you in the eye and say, "I blew up our family because I was terrified of aging." She will never confess, "I needed strangers to want me more than I needed my kids to feel safe." She will never whisper, "My ego mattered more than my vows." Instead, she invents a new story. A story where she's the heroine. A story where you're the villain. A story she has to believe, because facing the truth would destroy her. And what about you? You'll be told to heal, to work on yourself, to rise from the ashes like it was all just a lesson. And maybe you will. But let's not pretend the scars aren't deep, because the truth is, you were never fighting another man. You were fighting time itself, and that's a war no husband can win. You can't compete with biology. You can't compete with a culture that feeds her panic with empty slogans. You can't compete with her fear of becoming invisible. So what's a man supposed to do first? Recognize the signs early. If her entire identity is built on being desired, if she cannot face aging with grace, understand that you are living with a ticking time bomb. Second, know this isn't your failure. You cannot fix someone's battle with time. No amount of devotion, sacrifice, or improvement will override biology and fear. Third, protect yourself and your children. Document everything. Guard your assets. Prepare for war. Because when she decides to blow up her life, she won't just walk out quietly. She'll take everyone down with her. And here's the darkest truth of all. Not every woman goes down this path, but the culture makes it harder and harder for them not to. Some women do accept that beauty fades while character endures. Some women know excitement is fleeting while stability is priceless. Some women realize that being chosen once and kept forever is worth far more than being chosen 100 times and discarded. But those women are rare. They are fighting against the tide of a society that glorifies destruction. So if you're a man with a wife approaching 40, open your eyes. Don't just look for cheating. Look for panic. Look for the obsession with youth, the hunger for validation, the nostalgia that tastes more like regret than joy. Those are the tremors before detonation. And when it comes, it won't just take your marriage. It will take your children's security. It will take years of building. It will take the life you thought was safe. That's the truth no one dares to say out loud. Women over 40 don't always leave, but when they do, they rarely leave quietly. They leave like a storm, loud, violent, destructive. And in that storm, you'll see the reality every man needs to face. Aging terrifies them more than losing everything they already had. Don't ever say you weren't warned. So here it is, the truth stripped bare. You can love your wife with everything you have. You can provide, protect, and sacrifice. You can give her the best years of your life. And still, one day, you may sit across the table from someone who looks like her, but doesn't think like her anymore. Not because you failed, but because time never stops, and she couldn't bear its verdict. Her war was never with you. It was with the mirror, with the silence after the compliments faded, with the terror of becoming invisible. And in that war, you became collateral damage. Your vows didn't matter. Your loyalty didn't matter. Even your children's stability didn't matter. Her panic screamed louder than all of it. And while society applauds her for being brave, no one counts the wreckage. No one talks about the broken homes, the confused children, the men left questioning their sanity. They celebrate the fire, but they ignore the ashes. So what can you do first? Never assume loyalty is permanent. Second, watch for the signs: nostalgia that feels like regret, hunger for validation, resentment of responsibility. These are tremors before the quake. Third, protect yourself and your children. Because when the explosion comes, it won't just crack vows, it will shatter lives. This isn't fear-mongering, it's reality. Women over 40 don't always leave. But when they do, they rarely leave quietly. They leave like a storm, violent, unforgiving. And in that storm, you'll see what nobody wants to admit: aging terrifies them more than losing everything they already had. Don't ever say you weren't warned.